Toastmasters Stanley writes that he's been in the mortgage industry for 7 years and he has a passion for helping people improve their finances and their credit. I'd like to present to you Toastmaster Ronald Stanley.
Fellow members and guests, I want to speak to you from the topic, your credit report can be your life support. Your credit report can be your life support. Repeat after me, my credit report, can be my life support.
Can be my life support.
What do I mean by that? Well, first let's define what life support is. Life support in medicine is a term that applies to any therapy that is used to sustain a patient's life while they are critically ill or injured. There's different types of life support. You have dialysis, you have a pacemaker, there's an actual life support system. Simply put, the job of life support is to keep you alive while you're going through a difficult time. And we all know what's on our credit report can actually keep us alive while we're experiencing financial difficulty, or it can be death to any financial dreams that we have in the future. What reports on your credit report is a reflection of who you used to be, not who you are. Now, the reason that I say that is there's many people with poor credit who are extremely responsible, but they just ran into a difficult time. But know this, that all a lender has to go off of is who you used to be. Because how faithful you were in fulfilling your last promises is how faithful you will be in completing your new promises. So it's important that we know what's on our credit report. Now, I'm especially qualified to talk about this because I've worked for 3 large corporations for the past 7 years. And my job as a mortgage consultant is to review a customer's credit report and suggest different products to be able to help them refinance or purchase a new property. And one of the things that I see all the time is people don't know what's on their credit report. So my goal today is to be able to give you some credit report tips. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay, tip number 1, it's important to know where you stand. Know where you stand. Say, know where you stand.
Know where you stand.
Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. So therefore, get wisdom, and in all thy getting, get understanding. Get wisdom concerning what's on your credit report. You can't improve what's on your credit report unless you know what's on there. You have to know what's on your credit report. Some people say, well, I don't want to pull my credit report because I don't want it to knock down my credit scores. Yes, it is true that multiple inquiries do have a negative impact against your credit scores. But when a consumer pulls a copy of their credit report to see what's on there, it does not have a negative impact on your credit report. So it's important that you know what's on your credit report. Now we see all these advertisements, freecreditreport.com. You call them and then they want to charge you, what, $12.99 or $14.99 for a credit report. Well, there's the state actually entitles you to 1 free copy of your credit report once a year. 1 free copy of your credit report. The website that you can go to is annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com allows you to get 1 free copy of your credit report from each of the 3 credit bureaus. Annualcreditreport.com. So tip number 1, it's important to know where you stand. Know where you stand. Tip number 2, pay down your debt. Pay down your debt. It's one of the hardest things to do, but it's one of the most effective ways to be able to improve your credit scores. Pay down your debt. The Bible says, owe no man anything but to love one another. As Christians, we should be debt-free. How can you bless the poor if you're one of them? So it's important that you pay down your debt. Another translation says, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. We shouldn't let debt remain outstanding. So it's important to pay down your debt. The people that I see with the highest credit scores keep very low balances. They don't have maxed out credit cards. So it's important to pay down your debt. Pay down your debt. A rule of thumb to be able to improve your credit report or to be able to improve your credit scores is to charge no more than 30% of your credit limit monthly and pay it in full every single month before the interest is due. So for example, if you have $1,000, if you have a credit card with a $1,000 limit, you want to charge no more than $300 on it monthly and pay it in full every single month. If you do this, I guarantee you it'll help you to improve your credit report. So we have to pay down our debt. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, Tip number 3 is to close old negative accounts and to open up new positive accounts. Close old negative accounts and to open up new positive accounts. Now the Bible says, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth onto those things which are before. We have to get rid of our past on our credit report, especially if it's a derogatory past. Some people ask me, how can I improve my credit report? Well, they spend so much time focusing on getting rid of the old stuff that they don't focus on getting some new positive things on there. So I want to give you 4 steps to be able to remove a derogatory account off your credit report. Step number 1, it's important that the first step you want to do is you want to contact the creditor. Contact the creditor. If it's Bank of America, it's if a collection company, contact the creditor. Step number 2, once you've paid the debt in full, once you've satisfied the debt, get a letter from the creditor to show that the account is paid in full or has a 0 balance. Make sure that it clearly references your name, your account number, all the important information so the credit bureaus will know that it's paid. Step number 3, make a copy of the letter that you gotten from the creditor and mail it into all 3 credit bureaus. Mail it into all 3 credit bureaus. Step number 4, you have to allow at least 2 or 3 months to allow the credit bureaus to update that account, to no longer show derogatory, to show that it's in good standing, so allow time. So in conclusion, it's important that we pay down our debt. Well, step number 1, it's important. What's step number 1?
Know where you stand.
Know where you stand. All right, y'all are following me. Step number 2, know where you stand. Step number 1. Step number 2, pay down your debt. And step number 3, close old negative accounts and open up new positive accounts. I promise, if you use these tips, you'll be able to have the credit report. You'll be able to have the life support that you need to be able to have the borrowing power in your time of need. And that's what we need. We need to be able to get assistance. When we're going through a difficult time, we need to be able to borrow sometimes. But ultimately, the borrower is always slave to the lender. So we want to position ourselves where we are lenders, not borrowers. Because your credit report can be your life support. Thank you.
Wow, are we not ants at work today? Jeez. A wealth of information on all fronts. Okay, timekeeper, if you would give us 1 minute on the clock so we can complete our ballots.
That was awesome.